Good morning class 1 and welcome to Thursday's maths lesson. In yesterday's lesson you did some fantastic work. I was really impressed with all of the learning that I've seen, and we were thinking about place value. We're going to be continuing to think about place value in today's lesson, but we're going partitioning 2-digit numbers. But before we start that, I want us to have a recap on yesterday's learning. I am going to spin my magical wheel and it is going to select a number between 11 and 20. I would like you to represent that number using concrete or pictorial resources. So you might use concrete resources to make the number, or you might draw a pictorial representation of that number. Remember the strategy that we used in yesterday's lesson. Instead of taking lots of time and counting out the value of the number in ones, identify how many tens are in that number first and draw the number of tens, and then identify how many ones are in that number and draw the number of ones. Right, let's spin the wheel. Okay, we're ready. Let's spin the wheel. Okay, the number we rolled was 17, so I'm going to write 17 on my place value chart. Looking at my place value chart, I can see that there is one group of 10 and 7 ones. Now I want to represent this using concrete resources, and I also want to show a pictorial representation. Pause the video now and have a go at representing the number 17 with either concrete or a pictorial representation. Okay, I'm sure you've had a go at representing the number 17. Let's have a look at it together on the board. Now, I use concrete resources, and the concrete resource that I chose was Numicon. You can see that I have one group of 10 and 7 ones. So I've made the number 17 using concrete resources. I also want to represent that number pictorially, so I'm going to draw a pictorial representation of the number 17 by using tens and ones. Looking at my place value chart again, I can see that there is one group of 10, so I'm going to draw one 10 stick. I can see that there are 7 ones, so I'm going to represent the ones by drawing them pictorially. 4, 5, 6, 7. I've now represented the number in 2 different ways, once with a concrete resource and again with a pictorial representation. Well done if you managed to represent the number 17 either using concrete resources or a pictorial representation. Let's spin the wheel again and have a go with another number. Excellent, so we rolled number 20. I'm writing it on my place value chart. Now, using the place value chart to help you, can you represent this number either using concrete resources or by drawing a pictorial representation? Have a go now. I'm sure you all managed to do that successfully. Let's have a look at it together. If I wanted to represent the number 20 using concrete resources, first I'm going to identify how many tens are in that number. I can see that there are 2 tens in the number 20, so I'm going to place 2 10 sticks on the board to represent the number 20, because I know that if I add 10 and 10 together, they equal 20. Let's look at my ones. I can see that there are 0 ones, so I don't need to add anything else to my concrete representation. Now I want to show a pictorial representation of the number 20, and I can do that by drawing counters. So I'm going to draw myself 2 tens frames, and I'm going to represent the numbers. Again, I'm going to see how many groups of 10 there are. I can see there's 2 groups of 10, so I'm going to make sure that I have 2 tens frames that are full of counters. So there's 1, and now there's 2. 2 groups of 10 to equal 20. Just to double check, I'm looking at my ones. There are 0 ones in my ones column, so I don't need to add any additional counters to my pictorial representation. Excellent, so now we've got our brains warmed up and we've been thinking about representing numbers 11 to 20. We're going to start our learning on partitioning. Now, what does partitioning mean? If I have a whole and I want to partition it, what am I doing to that number? Pause the video now and talk to a grown-up. That's right, when we are partitioning, we are splitting our whole, our number, into groups. So we can use a part-whole model to help us. Here is my whole, and I want to partition that number into groups. Now I've drawn a part-whole model that has two parts. Does a part-whole model always have to have two parts, or can a number be partitioned into more than two parts? Pause the video and speak to a grown-up. What do you think? Well done, that's right. A number doesn't always have to be partitioned into two parts. It can be partitioned into more than two parts. So we could draw a part-whole model that has two parts. We could draw a part-whole model that has three parts. We could also draw a part-whole model that has 5 parts. It doesn't matter how many parts we partition a number into, it just means that we need to listen to the question carefully to identify how many parts we need to partition the number into. Okay, in today's lesson we are going to be partitioning 2-digit numbers into groups of 10s and groups of 1s. So in today's lesson that does mean that we are going to be partitioning into 2 groups, and we're going to be using a part-whole model to help us do this. Let's have a look at the first question together. Okay, I'm going to spin the wheel to identify which 2-digit number I'm going to partition. Off we go. So the number that the wheel identified was the number 12. I need to represent this pictorially in my whole. So first, I'm going to use my place value chart to record the number 12. And now I'm going to represent it pictorially. Looking at my place value chart, I can see that there is one group of 10. So I need to draw one 10 stick to represent one group of 10. I'm now looking at my ones and I can see that there are 2 ones. So I'm going to represent that pictorially by drawing 2 ones. I've now represented the number 12. Next, I want to partition the number. In this part, I want to identify and represent how many 10s there are in the number 12. And in this part, I want to represent and identify how many 1s are in the number 12. So let's look at the pictorial representation to help us. I can see that there is one 10 stick, which means that there is one group of 10. So I'm going to write the digit 1 to show and represent that there is one group of 10. In this part, I want to identify how many 1s there are. So again, looking at my pictorial representation, I can see that there are 2 1s. So I'm going to write the digit 2 in the 1s part to represent that there are 2 1s. If we place these 2 digits together, we can see that the number that is pictorially represented is the number 12. Number 12 has one group of 10 and 2 1s. I could also show you that in an addition sentence. 10 add 2 equals 12. Now it's your turn. Let's spin the wheel and identify a 2-digit number. I will represent it pictorially on the board, and I want you to partition the number to show me how many 10s are in that number and how many 1s are in that number. Let's have a go now. Ready? Let's go. The number 14, so I'm going to represent that pictorially now. Now that you can see a pictorial representation of the number 14, can you partition it into groups of 10 and groups of 1? Pause the video now and have a go. Excellent, well done. I can see by looking at the pictorial representation that there is one group of 10. So I'm going to write the digit 1 to represent one group of 10. Looking at the 1s, I can see that there are 4 groups of 1. I know this because I know that 2 add 2 makes 4. So I'm going to write the digit 4 to represent the 4 1s that I can see. If I put those 2 digits together, I can see that the number that I've represented is the number 14. Again, I can prove this in an addition sentence by writing one group of 10 add 4 1s equals 14. Now we've explored partitioning together, I would like you to have a go at partitioning the pictorial representations on your worksheet today. Once you've done that, have a go at the deepening questions and try and challenge yourself in today's lesson. I can't wait to see all of your hard work. Well done, Class 1. Keep up the fantastic learning.